Hello there, everybody. So this is my first real day back from vacation. I was in Iowa for a wedding, and I just got back last night. Um, so that's that. As far as the writing goes, basically what has been happening is, so I've been listening to a writing podcast. It's called Seated at the Writer's Table, which is one that a friend from my regional NaNoWriMo page had recommended to all of us, and I've been really getting into podcasts, so I got that one. And I've probably listened to about 7 or so episodes of it. They're like 30 minutes each. And so what this video blog is basically about is sort of what I've gleaned from the wisdom of others. Because in listening to all these different writers talk about their writing experiences and whatever, and the podcaster, the guy asking the questions and driving the conversation, basically asks every single one of them basically like what they do to combat writer's block. So this is kind of about that, but really it's just me coming to terms with a couple of truths I know about writing that, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I've basically been ignoring. And that's that if you're going to be serious about writing, you need to write often. Which I tend to come and go in spurts. When Nano happens, I've won Nano both years I've participated on day 10. So I know that I can write when I'm pressed to. And I tend to make excuses for most of the rest of the year. Because I spend December and January editing, and then I spend the next couple of months being in pain from the writing and the editing. Then Altador Cup happens, then summer is busy, then hunting season happens, then Nano happens, and then we just start holding over again. So part of this listening to the podcasts and trying to read more and revamping the blog, part of this for me has been a bit of soul searching, because, you know, I am a published author now. I have a book, and which is linked up above if ever you decide you want to check it out. But it's not necessarily that it's made me lazy, because that's not the right word for it, but it's such an overwhelming sense of relief that now I have a chance to sort of like stretch my legs and feel out my goals as a writer, because now with the 900 plus blog followers and Twitter followers and Facebook followers and whatever, at least now I have something to point to them to say, hey, I wrote something. If you're interested in reading it, there it is. Like I've said multiple times, I'm not really concerned with how successful my book one is. It's just that now when I talk to people about writing, I have something to point to that says, yes, I do write and you can read it, here it is, while I'm working on making, more books and doing it right. So now, because I have that published, it's been, like I said, more of a soul-searching thing for me. So reading or listening to this writing podcast is part of it. Listening to other like informative educational podcasts like mythology and stuff is another, because I'm really trying to refine parts of my craft that I feel I'm lacking in, and that, betas and such have sort of alluded to a bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know my writing is good, but I also know when I read things like George R. R. Martin and Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson that I am not the best, and I can definitely improve. I tend to excel well when I keep my plot clean and straightforward. I only focus on a few characters. I can't handle 300 at a time like Robert Jordan can. It is what it is. I tend to focus on fairly linear plots with clear expectations of what's happening, and I tend to really grind down on emotions, because that's how I know I can get an effect out of a reader with fairly little refined experience. So yeah, that's what you get out of me. Linear, plot-driven, few characters that I hope you get very invested in and hurt for them throughout the story. Which, honestly, it's entertaining, it's fairly easy, but that's not my end goal. My end goal is sweeping epic fantasy with very complex worlds that you can see yourself living in. And I know that I'm not there yet, and I got a ways to go. The good news is I'm young and I'm focused on it, so I'll get there, but with a busy life, I can only make so much progress at a time. So part of the busy life and trying to make some progress at a time is listening to these podcasts and reading more and so on and so forth. So I'm paying attention to all of the things that I know I lack in. And what I definitely know that I lack in is in world building and action scenes, like fighting, which a lot of people are bad at. So I don't feel bad about that one, but I'm going to try to get better. So what I wanted to, this sort of rambling video blog is for, is to tell you that I got 2 things that I'm harping on right now, besides the fact that I set a reminder on my phone to exercise every day, is pretty much every writer that I've listened to on the podcast has said that writing a little bit all the time is key. Even if it sucks, even if you delete it all, even if you throw it away. And I know this from experience, I've just sort of ignored it, because writing a little every day is really hard. But I know that it's true because before I wrote the novel, I was writing a lot of fan fiction. And I mean a lot of fan fiction, like so much. And the other part of this magical equation is that when you get writer's block, almost everybody in these podcasts say that the way to avoid writer's block, even Neil Gaiman says that the way to avoid writer's block, is to work on multiple projects at a time, so when you get stuck in one, you move to another one. Now, when I was writing fan fiction, I did that all the time. I had short stories that I just whipped out, they were like 1,000 words. I have like 2 chapter stories I'd be working on at a time, and occasionally, like, I'd just sort of sink my fangs into one and carry through to the end of it, which is fine as long as you never hit the block. But I haven't done that so much with my novels. I tend to plan out one novel and just see it through to completion. And what happens a lot, like more than I even care to admit, is while I'm writing that one, I get stuck. And then I spend the next 2-3 weeks just thinking about it, like thinking about the characters and the conflict and where I can take it next, what the end goal is. I spend a lot of time thinking and less of the time writing because I don't know what to write. So those are my goals. I need to work on multiple projects at once. And I know I have multiple projects in my brain because they're clamoring in there all the time for me to finish the project that I'm working on so that I can get started on that one. So working on multiple projects at a time and writing a little bit all the time. Those are my 2 things. And I think that in doing this, I will be more productive and I will improve dramatically and hopefully have more going on. Makes me feel better about myself. If I get more practice, eventually I'm going to get better. If I'm writing all the time, I'm going to finish more books. I'm going to get more published. Over time, you should see a progression of improvement throughout my books. Starting with this first one, which, again, like, it is, at this moment in time, my best work. But when you grew up reading The Lord of the Rings and The Wheel of Time and A Song of Ice and Fire, you know you're not that. So I can do better, and I'm planning on doing better, and it's about setting goals on these 2 things. Working on multiple projects, writing a little bit every day. So, on that note, I mapped out a new book. So I told you that I was expanding Achilles' universe, and I'm getting really excited about it. So I actually wrote like 1,000 words in book 4, even though I'm not yet completely finished with book 1 because it still needs another edit. And I just mapped out a peripheral book that is not even remotely aligned with books 1 through 3 and 4 through 6. It's sort of like an offshoot, but it's about a particular character in Achillea, and it's basically like her life up to and sort of through part of Achillea, and she latched into my brain and she won't let go. So, and I actually got some pretty vivid scenes in there, what's actually going to happen and where it's going to go, and it's going to be pretty fucking badass if I do say so myself. So I mapped that one out, and as I work on this multiple projects thing, I think I'm going to work on her for a bit. And I'm working on her, I've got a couple more stuff for the rest of the story, and it's going to be good. So, yeah, not a whole lot of forward progress right now. A lot of soul searching, but it's going to be good. Uh, Generally speaking, we seek progress, not perfection. So, baby steps at a time. Always try and find something to work on and get better at, and that's always going to be good, even if I don't, pump out 3 books a year. Honestly, my favorite authors typically wrote books every 3 to 5 years. Not really my goal. I want to be faster than that, but no rush. If you want it to be good, it doesn't have to be fast. So, there's that. Alright, and I think I'm going to leave you there and get back to Altador Cup. So, I'm Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week. So, I will see you for Friday at Right Tip. Peace out.